My name's Jason Lilley. I was a Marine. I had a pretty unique last name already, so I went by Lilley for the most part, or Lily Pad, or Lillehammer. So, like the Olympics. Starting out, I was a grunt infantry guy, 0311. I was with 5th Marines, through 3-5 specifically, name of the company, which is a Hilo unit. And then 1st Recon Battalion, did the whole invasion, generation kill, documented on that. And then right after that, went to Fallujah. So I did 2 years over there at first, got out of the Marine Corps, took a break, and ended up getting sucked back into the Marines, and went into MARSOC, which was a brand new unit at the time. They stood up in October of '06, and I got there 6 months after that to the West Coast at Pendleton, and then got back out of MARSOC in 2011, worked for the State Department for about 1.5 years, and then worked for the CIA doing the Global Response Staff, GRS, for about 4.5 years. I'm working on my captain's license for fishing here in Southwest Florida. I run a YouTube channel and a podcast called Savage Actual. Do some tactical advising on video games and authenticity of how it looks. Kind of a jack of all trades in a sense. I was, I'll just be real, and I love my parents to death, but I went through multiple divorces as a kid. And by age 14, I've gone through 3. And that last one really broke me. And I know that pains my parents to hear me say that, but it's life, and it happens, especially in America, all the time. So I got super lost and super depressed, kind of molded into one thing, and partied a lot and started making really bad decisions and surrounded myself with kind of other broken people that were just as lost. So I didn't think I was worthy enough to be friends with guys that had it together, or even though I was a sports guy, but I quit playing baseball, I quit band. So I knew I needed something harsh to get me back up to where I should be, and somehow ended up in the Marine Corps. I got really turned off by the Army, no offense, and it was in Kansas, so it was Fort Riley that was it. And my good friend at the time, and we're still friends, Adam Parks, is the one that talked to me about recon, about Marines, and he kind of put that little idea in my head, and then he did not join, but I ended up obviously following through with it. So it's pretty random. So I was kind of that stoner, laid back, not very violent guy, and I just got thrust into this whole other realm, and that was a part of me to some degree. I think we all have that in us, but yeah. My family surprisingly handled it pretty well. Was very proud, obviously, especially with the grandfather on that one side, my mom's side. Grandpa Steve, he was a sailor. So he did World War II and the Korean War as well. He was a Railman First Class E6 when he got out on a destroyer escort called the USS Crowder. And I'm really starting to dig into that now, the older I am. And then my uncle on the same side, his oldest son, my mom's brother, was in the Air National Guard and still currently is a pilot as well. So he's flown for all the big ones, and he does business stuff now, super into photography. So I had these 2 guys that were, for whatever reason, it hit me pretty special, and that was a big catalyst. The patriotism was there, and it wasn't over the top, but it was there. And I think they knew the struggles that I had gone through for sure. Bailed me out of a few of those, and I was on the brink of a catalyst for significant change, so they saw that. I was really looking forward to becoming more of a man. I mean that in the sense of being able to channel and harness my own emotions, because I was pretty hyper emotional internally, to become more of a man of follow through, and a man of action, a man of dignity, a man of confidence, for sure. Just stepping into that realm of change. It taught me I have the strength. I've got the mental fortitude and the intestinal fortitude to push through it all. It taught me to really believe in myself and not fucking quit. I think it's part of our culture. Most cultures, just warriors in general. I mean, you look at every movie and every story, there's some kind of Saving Private Ryan to the bridge over the River Kwai to, you know, there's some tie to some military story. So there's that fascination, you know, especially with Tenet and, you know, all the movies out there, you know, there's so many. So I think there's that draw to that warrior class of human being that's still alive in all cultures today. I wouldn't say I thought about it too much pre-Marine Corps before I joined, but being in a profession, knowing that I was going to join into this warrior class in the U03 tribe, yeah, I knew it was inevitable. That was what I'm being trained for. So, you know, going into it, I was already starting to compartmentalize and desensitize that part of me, but it was already kind of going that way anyway because of Rambo, Platoon, all the movies that we grew up on. So there was that already happening to some degree. You know, our realm of fighters was on the edge of being a psychopath. There's no other way to say it. You have to be. You gotta be a violent, hyper fucking violent human being. I'm not kissing babies. I'm not putting on dress blues. I'm there to fucking lob heads off. That's my fucking job. That's it. So you have to become that Viking, you know, but even during off moments, during those deployments, you know, I mean, I felt like almost every day was like a movie. And it was so surreal, even though I've been trained for this, but my training in the grand scheme of things, the duration of life was very short for this, how intense of a moment this is. So, and not just a moment, like lots of them. So during the invasion, you know, nothing up close and personal, but definitely shot at people and definitely hit people. And it was whatever, to be honest, not to sound callous, but it was whatever. And then we were such an op tempo, was so high. I had time to like stop and do like a BDA, you know, and which is an assessment of the damage of the battle. But Fallujah in 04, specifically the first person I shot in the face 15, 20 feet away, looking at me, blinking at me. I thought he was dead and he wasn't. I plugged him from a ways away and he was bleeding out, looking right at me. I winged him in the shoulder, actually to test if he was still alive because there were grenades and weapons everywhere. And another guy just blew himself up in half with a grenade like 30 feet before that. So I was moving on to the next set of guys and hit him in the shoulder and he like rolled over and faced myself and the other guy and he had an AK in his hand. I'm not super religious now, and I was quasi then, but I remember almost saying like a please forgive me prayer in my head in a way, because I'm looking at the dude's face on an ACOG and is filling the reticle. So, and then, you know, it's lights out, did what I had to do. Now that I'm 43, things are coming up, and not in a bad way, just more compassion. So for myself, doing the things that I had to do then and them. You know, and I don't have maybe regret. It is what it is. He was gonna do it to me in his chest at that point. So this was in Afghanistan and there was 10, 11 of us. There was 13 of them and we've been following them for days. And they finally picked a spot very close to where we were living at the time. And it was green lit to go take these dudes out. And for those listening, it's always the enemy in these countries that get the drop on you. You're the predominantly white outsider for the most part. You know, in their lands, you fucking stick out, and you're wearing a uniform. You're in Humvees. They know they can hear you. They got a network of people calling, obviously. So to get the drop on them is pretty fucking rare. And they were all asleep, and they had one guy as a sentry, as fire watch. And we moved up within 20 feet of the guy with lasers walking through a field right when the sun was coming up. And he started throwing rocks at us and started cursing. He thought we were dogs. So like he thought we were a pack of dogs, and kind of were. And he had like 10 lasers on his chest and that dude vaporized. But as soon as we did that, they all jumped up. We had an L shape on them, 2 machine guns, 8 of us. I was the furthest right of that long axis of the L. They all got up and started running towards the door, and we just lit them all up. And the last guy that I shot was really close and landed up against the wall and heard agonal breathing. I hit him in the back. in the chest and the side. He was dying right there. So I put him out. So that sticks out because I knew the dude was on his last couple minutes, and like the hunter in me was like super pumped and like, this is, holy fuck, you know, and none of us got shot. Like we got them, you know, it was like a win for the home team at the time. And doing that, you know, it was like the right thing to do. So, but he sticks out just because I was there in his last moments of life. It's like an extreme sport in a sense. You get addicted to it, the hunt of it, and the fear factor that you're gonna be on the other end too. So there's no other greater game. I don't mean great like everyone should strive for that, but it is the ultimate chess game. And I've always thought about it, and after every experience, you know, I've like replayed it 100 times, and I've really chewed on my experiences over times. Us type of guys tend to beat ourselves up mentally. I think that's kind of where the drive comes from, perfection to some degree. Going through all this training and combined exercises and hoorah, fucking America, you know, you think you got it, you think you know what's up, you think you know how it's going to be. And then Nasiriyah, 2003, Jessica Lynch's vehicle was blown up and leaking blood out of the side where they kidnapped her from. We drove right by it. Then hearing the first rounds snap by your head, knowing that rapport and that sound or the round is coming from another human being. In a moment, in a second, you realize it's fucking on. And for me individually, I remember being 23 and thinking my age, I'm like, I don't want to fucking die. And like I was so like, I'm invincible. And then in a second, literally, I'm like, fuck. Like I haven't done X, Y, and Z yet. Like I'm only fucking 23. So that human innate encoded DNA trait of survival kicks in, and it's like, fuck, I'm gonna do everything I can to get the fuck out of this, and my boys. So yeah, it's like DMT or a trip in a second. It's just like warfare, millennia, caves, rock, like fucking holy shit, I'm in it. This is another human being that wants to end me, you know? So it's a very hyper surreal moment that happens in a very short time. I think I tapped into a side of me that was, I don't want to say like depressed, but very black and white and accepting and kind of the fuck it side of me. Like, and that's the young testosterone-fueled male thought, like burn out. I'd rather fucking flame out than fizzle out. So that aggressive kind of off-road F1, you know, adrenaline-filled mindset, that helped me. Those chemicals helped me push through it for sure. It's like you have to put your boots on, to do your job, to breathe, and you have to accept today could be the day, this minute, any minute. It's so wide open, unknown, and which is scary. You know, like you think you're gonna have some control in this situation if and when it happens, and potentially to get away from it. Like, dude, it could happen at any fucking moment. It could be a goddamn bomb, you know, and then you're gone. It's over in a second. So, yeah.
Just a quick word from our sponsor, HelloFresh, and we'll get right back to this episode. Oh, how I love HelloFresh. We have used this to feed our family of 5 for 5 years and counting, to include our meal last night, which was a delicious dill chicken with asparagus, and I can hear some of the grunts listening and saying that sounds like something a pilot would eat. Hey, but this summer, they made their biggest menu upgrade yet. This isn't the HelloFresh you remember. It's bigger. HelloFresh has doubled its menu. You can now choose from 100 options each week. It's healthier, feel great with an even healthier menu filled with high protein and veggie packed recipes, and tastier. You can get steak and seafood recipes delivered every week for no extra cost. I have truly used HelloFresh long before they sponsored our show, and it feeds our family 3 to 5 nights a week, which includes 3 growing boys. We just order 2 of each meal, which is intended to feed 4 people, but really is perfect for our set of 5. I also try to order off their quick and easy meal prep menu, which means we still get the healthy options, but I can make them quickly after a long day at the office or on the microphone. The best way to cook just got better. go to hellofresh.com/combatstory10fm now to get 10 free meals plus a free item for life, 1 per box with active subscription, free meals applied as discount on first box, new subscribers only, varies by plan. That's hellofresh.com/combatstory10fm to get 10 free meals plus a free item for life. That's hellofresh.com/combatstory10fm. And now back to this episode.
I remember driving through whatever fucking town that was during the invasion in 03. That fight, that tick that we got into, we're surrounded on both sides by well over 60 to 100 plus. 2, 3-story buildings, and we were getting shot on both sides at every level. RPGs, driving through it, and it was an open Humvee. We joked that we were NAR, no armored reconnaissance, and we had fucking sandbags under our seat and on the windows. We had no armor. I was in a fucking Jeep, basically, and I was driving because I'm super OCD about my skills in driving, so I made myself a driver. I remember driving with my M4 full auto, shooting at whatever movement I could see out of my periphery. Shit's going everywhere, and I'm got my chin on the fucking steering wheel. I remember trying to climb in my helmet like a fucking turtle. I'll never forget it. I'm talking about it now at 43, 20 years ago, actually, this year. And just how small I wanted to be. It was just and shit, walls were exploding from Mark 19 behind us, and it was just so fucking surreal, man. And at the end of that, to bring it back to the question, we made a left, pulled in this giant wadi mud field, our entire company, and met up with the rest of the battalion, actually. We were the last company to go through, and they lit us up last. And there was a bunch of tanks. There was a whole Marine unit there. They've had eyes on this village, and they've been waiting to go into it, and knew it was loaded to the fucking gills with bad guys. And we just blasted through the ass on the back end, random wrong turn, and none of us died. And we should have. They dropped piano wire, trying to take out our gunners. It was like a mini Fallujah that I didn't think they thought it was gonna go down that day. So we got to the end, and I'll never forget this. I just talked about this with Brad Colbert, some of the other guys. I remember getting out of the Humvee, and I literally thought I was dead or in purgatory, because my ruck had 7 holes in it, which was hanging right behind my seat, right in front of the next guy, or on the side of the vehicle, insane. But we were just all we were so happy. I'll never forget this moment. I can tell you where the sun was sitting. We were hugging and laughing like children, holy fuck. We just, oh my God. It was hugs and high fives. And all of our Humvees were still running, no flat tires. And the amount of rounds we took was fucking insane. So, it wasn't at a distance. I mean, we could see them in the doorways and windows and shit. It was fucking crazy. Getting me pumped up, man.
Hey, what a story.
Yeah. So how many friends or fellow Marines did you lose to either training, combat, or suicide?
Fuck. I say well over 20, 25 guys, at least, probably more, of guys I haven't talked to in a long time, and they've already passed. It's weird, because I wasn't uber close to this guy. Close enough. I mean, we were teammates in GRS, CIA. He was an Army Ranger, a Green Beret, and his call sign was Creature. And he was a creature. He had a little bit of a lisp, and he talked a little weird. But I remember fucking around with him and some other guys with a robot. We had this kind of fat Green Beret that we used to fuck with, and he ate way too much candy, so we'd take his ammunition out of his fucking shit right before mission. We'd stuff it with Snickers and fucking candy bars, and you'd come back so pissed off. So he was playing video games one day, and we got one of the EOD robots and grabbed a box of fucking candy, and he was sitting in his underwear. It was super weird at this site, at this station. He's playing video games, and we come in, there's a mic on it, we're talking shit, we drop all this fat kid food at his feet. He was so pissed off. But I was doing that with this guy, and his name's Creature. Him and I were sitting next to each other, laughing while we were doing this. And I knew he was married and he had kids. And I just found out in the last 2-3 years that he took his own life. He had 6 or 7 kids, man. Because I just remember his smile, and I remember his energy and his unique quirkiness, you know, and I just never thought, I guess you never do. And that brings up another one too, if you don't mind. The same deployment potentially, but the same site in northern Iraq and Kurdistan. There was this, he wasn't a mobile guy, he was a site security guy that protects the base. I wouldn't say the call sign of the project, but he was a Hispanic guy. His call sign was Cross. He had this giant cross on his back, and he was a fucking dick. I didn't like him at all at first. But I found out he was a Marine, he was a grunt, he'd seen a lot of fucking shit. So, and looking back, I could tell how he handled a lot of that. So he was just a fucking, I think it's like a machismo potentially in the culture too. Like he just held it all in. And we played volleyball a fucking lot at that time on our off time. We're stuck on this base, and I remember we were supposed to have like this big game the next day between us and some other guys, maybe, and a bunch of COs too. It was cool, like a little family. And I remember coming up the stairs, the second floor is where we all stayed, where we lived, and it was dark that night. It was like 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night. I was the next hallway. He was the one right up at the end of the stairs. I caught him going into his door. I was like, hey, Cross, like, we still on for fucking volleyball tomorrow? And he's like, yeah, bro, absolutely. Goes in, shuts the door. I go down my hallway, go to sleep. I wake up to radio chatter 5 hours later, because we all had our radios on. Handhelds right next to us. Woke me up. Like, fuck, I gotta take a piss. I walked back that same way. There was a group of dudes standing outside of his door. Like, what's up, guys? Went to the bathroom, came back. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, you didn't hear it? And I'm like, nah, man, what's up? They're like, Cross fucking shot himself. So I was potentially the last person to see him in the flesh. And he, on FaceTime or Skype, in front of his wife, shot himself. And then that was like the first week or two that I was there. So I had like 3 more months there, and I walked by that fucking room and they left the light on every time. I didn't want to shut the light, I didn't want to walk in there. It's weird, because like death is like whatever to me, but it bothered me. Like, fuck, dude. Like we were all, she's not worth it. Whatever your drama is, man, isn't worth it. So, yeah, and it's starting to happen a lot more. We're so, like, made by fire and steel and pain and loneliness. Like, you kind of know that this guy put a lot of skin in the game during that Title I, and then potentially went overseas and saw a lot of the same shit. So, and I've noticed with friends that I have that through mutual stories have seen comparable, if not more, combat. And obviously through that, like the true human in you comes out. You show cracks of, I like to fish, I like to listen to this music, or a guy talks about his girl or his kids, and it's like you see this side of, this compassion side of this guy outside of a dude that you don't ever want to meet in a fucking dark alley. So you see the whole picture. So it's hyper forged in this, that's why like you see like survivors of like avalanches that were all there together, or pretty cataclysmic events. It like, in a very short time, it fuses people together. So through that adversity, I think that bond just becomes deeper, I look up to him, as equals, and if not more. So it's deeper than, it's almost ineffable to way. It's definitely a feeling, it's safety, it's a family, is a good word, definitely a family. We have a lot in common. And like I get them, and I really try to understand more about them. If they say something on the phone or whatnot, or they're having a bad day, like, dude, I get it. That is what you're signing up for. You're here to play ball. It sounds super callous, but to compartmentalize it, to help you accept it more, like that is the job you're getting into. And that is the byproduct of, you're gonna get zinged once and maybe not live through it, but you're definitely gonna be throwing rounds back the other way, and that's part of the game. You're gonna get hit. It's like a boxer. You're gonna get hit. You're gonna get stuck by a knife. You have to accept that you're not invincible. You're not.
Just a quick word from myself before we dive back into this combat story. Many of you know our previous interviews with AJ Pasciuti, Marine sniper, recon operator, and the man who tracked, hunted, and ultimately eliminated Iraq's deadliest sniper, Juba. This was an enemy responsible for deaths of over 100 Americans, some say up to 140, many of which were filmed and posted online. AJ, who was just a very humble, very young Marine at the time, took that fateful shot, putting an end to so much pain for so many families. He never took credit for it, and over the years that story's changed and been retold countless times. I'm incredibly proud to let you know that you can get your hands on AJ's new book, Dark Horse, Harnessing Hidden Potential in War and Life, a book I asked him to write after I interviewed him, immediately after I interviewed him. It's part memoir, part roadmap, a look at the lessons AJ learned through combat and throughout his career, and how they can help all of us find strength and purpose. If you enjoy Combat Story, you're going to love this book. To get a copy, head to combatstory.com/darkhorse. That's combatstory.com/darkhorse. It's packed with details and insights that we never got to cover in our interviews, and I know you're going to love it. Now, back to this combat story.
We have such a serious job. To take another life is very serious. And I'm not talking about the other MOS's branches and jobs, but the fighting realm that's our job. So it's a very serious job, but we fuck off a lot, and we come out of it like amateur comedians. So, and some guys are insanely funny. So like the funnest parts were just fucking laughing, and like the worst situations, like those are some of the moments, or just bonding in those moments. Those were pretty awesome. I remember I was a jokester, so I remember doing, I don't know if I should actually say this. I'll say it, fuck it. But I was 23, 24. And I remember we came back from the shooting range, and it was at night. We were in the back of a 7-ton or 5-ton, I think 7-ton, big vehicle, open thing in the back that stuffed everyone in the back of this truck bed for the most part. So there's like 20 guys back there, all their weapons. And I remember, I'll just fucking say it, just to make everyone laugh, because it was like a really shitty day, I tucked my junk in between my legs and depantsed myself and had a guy put a light on. I started dancing to make everyone laugh, and everyone was dying. We veterans have this dark sense of humor, and you have to, and it's a lot like nurses or EMTs or cops, because you see the worst in us. It's an ultimate failure to communicate when you're lugging each other's heads off. It's a breakdown of communication, and you've exhausted all means to get along. So in that environment, you have to have humor to deal with it. You got to balance it on the other end, I think. It just naturally kind of happens that way. So that bond is, any kind of veterans, we were joking, earlier about crayons and Marines eating crayons, it's like, I laugh about it. We all talk a lot of shit on each other, but it's kind of to gauge the other guy, and it's also, yes, to poke fun, and it is funny, but it's also to release some steam, and it's a good way to bond. And it's just the way it happens. To make it deeper and more personal, and again, not trying to make this sound depressing, but I self-isolate a lot. And I don't like, super cliche, I don't like large crowds. Like, my level of mistrust for my fellow man is through the fucking roof. And especially we're oversaturated with on the news. And there's news killing, random drive-by, a gas station getting mugged, it's like, dude, my level for mistrust is fucking high in my fellow man. But that's where I really hyper-trust the guys I served with and guys that have done similar jobs. So, which makes that bond even more.
Can you describe who Patrick is?
Yeah. Patrick is a mouthy New Yorker who gave up on the Marine Corps and joined the Navy. I have to start out talking shit. So Patrick is a little older than me, and he is my co-host. I would say he's my friend first. We don't ever talk about that. I think that's like the almost the professional job at us. We butt heads a lot. But he's my co-host and right-hand man to Savage Actual. When I first met him working for GoRuck as an instructor, he was my instructor that I basically shadowed, and you got to watch how I reacted to students and whatnot as cadre. So I met him there, and then he called me one day and asked me if I wanted to do this YouTube thing for this gameology video game company to react. It's called Experts React to Call of Duty, basically. So they wanted 2 special forces dudes to react to Call of Duty, and I'm like, fuck it. And we did. We had a good time, and he's like, yo, we should cut out a lot of BS, but we should do this ourselves. And I was kind of anti. And then like a month later, I kind of caved in and started Savage Actual with him. And, we've been doing it now for 2 years, but I've got to know, because he was still I didn't know him that well, and I'm still learning more about him. He's a really good dude, and he's a really good dad, and he's done a lot of cool shit. He was SWIC, he was a boat guy in NSW, doing a lot of cool stuff, but he was an 18 Delta, so a very high-level thinker on the tactical medicine side. He was a search and rescue dude for local police in Southern California. He's a really good dude, and he worked for the agency for a time. So we've got a lot of similarities. He did start out as a Marine, as a machine gunner, and then got out, ended up going in the Navy and retired. I respect that a lot. He did 20 years, if not more. So yeah, so we have that respect, and that, he talks a lot of shit. He's a mouthy dude, and I can't get 2 words out sometimes, and he cuts me off. I'm like, fuck, dude. Like, but I love the guy, I do.
At the end of every interview that I do on Combat Story, I ask people, with all the pain we've talked about, the loss, sacrifice, challenges, the family strains, if they'd go back and do it again, it's a resounding yes. Why do you think people who have lost and suffered so much say that they would go back and do it again?
Well, I'm glad I'm not alone in that number. Yeah, I'd definitely do it again. Because it made me who I am now. And I am glad I see the world the way I do on a survival aspect. And to protect others, I learned pretty incredible skills to protect myself, my immediate family, and other people that don't have that ability to protect themselves. So it's like that sheepdog thing. And I don't mean to glorify that and sound over the top macho, but I'm glad I went through that. I could do good in a very chaotic world. I often think who I would be right now if I hadn't gone through it. I think I'd be completely different. Probably really overweight and probably balding. But, yeah, I'd do it again. And I think that's why I think it's the Brotherhood too. And it is the fun. With the highs, there's lows. Joking with the guys and just being grossly filled with fucking humor, to fast roping out of a helo in Japan, to parachuting, to becoming a sniper, becoming a Recon Marine in general, being a part of a brand new unit, MARSOC, like however many guys get to be there at the very beginning of a brand new American Special Forces unit, that's been around the map now since. Finding that purpose, whatever it is, find your purpose. Have that as an individual, because we all are. Finding that purpose and putting all effort into trying. I wish, yeah, man. I mean, there were so many cool factors to it all, and I think that's what's addicted to it too. Yeah, that's the Marine. That's the Marines. No other way to say it.